Do you ever get the feeling that something isn't right with modern trucks? That for all their size, power, and presence, they somehow lost their soul? We look at today's trucks and marvel at how massive they've become, but are they actually better? Or are we just living in an era where automakers have confused bigger with better? Let's rewind a bit. Back in the 80s and 90s, trucks were smaller, lighter, and in many ways more dependable. But today, we got towering machines with tech-heavy features, massive grills, and price tags that flirt with luxury car territory. So the question is, how did we get here? And what did we lose in the process? This is the story of how we made trucks bigger, but not better. When bigger became the goal, let's start with the obvious, the sheer physical size of modern trucks. Compare a 1985 Toyota pickup to a 2025 Ford F-150, and the transformation is staggering. The F-150 today is nearly 2 feet longer, over a foot wider, and several inches taller than its predecessors from the 80s. But here's the kicker. The bed, the actual utility part of the truck, hasn't grown much at all. In fact, some modern full-size trucks have smaller usable beds than their older, more compact counterparts. How does that make sense? This shift isn't just about measurements, it's about attitude. Trucks were once tools, purpose-built and rugged. Now they're more like lifestyle statements, designed to dominate the road in presence, not performance. Once a workhorse, now a status symbol. That change in purpose is where everything starts to unravel. The loss of practicality. Back in the day, simplicity was king. Trucks had bench seats, manual windows, straight axles, and you could fix almost anything with a wrench and a bit of know-how. These were machines built with utility in mind, whether you were hauling lumber, towing gear, or working on a farm. Today's trucks are loaded with gadgets, digital dials, massive touchscreens, lane assist, parking sensors, panoramic roofs, and massage seats. Useful for daily luxury? Sure. But when it comes to rugged, day-to-day reliability and ease of maintenance, these extras become liabilities. And don't forget the price. A well-equipped full-size pickup can easily hit $70,000 or more, pricing out the people who actually need them for work. The market has shifted focus from construction workers and ranchers to suburban dads who want to feel like kings of the cul-de-sac. We lost the practical, affordable truck somewhere along the way, and replaced it with a tech-laden tank. More dangerous than you think. We've all heard that bigger vehicles are safer, and in one sense, that's true for the people inside the vehicle. But what about everyone else? Pedestrian deaths in the U.S. have surged dramatically in the last 2 decades, and large trucks are a major part of the problem. The blunt, vertical front ends of modern trucks are less likely to toss a pedestrian over the hood like a smaller car would. Instead, they strike head-on, often leading to fatal injuries. Statistics show that pedestrians are significantly more likely to die when hit by a large truck or SUV compared to a sedan. A massive grille might make you feel tough, but it creates massive blind spots, and that's a real threat on streets and in neighborhoods. Add to that the fact that some trucks, even the largest, don't come with standard front-facing cameras or sensors. You can spend over $60,000 on a vehicle and still be unable to see a small child directly in front of you. How is that better? Government loophole that fueled the madness. So how did trucks get this big? Why did the trend start in the first place? The answer lies in a decades-old government policy with unintended consequences. In the 1970s, following the oil crisis, the U.S. introduced the Corporate Average Fuel Economy (CAFE) standards. It was a well-intentioned move to improve gas mileage and reduce fuel consumption. But there was a catch. Cars and trucks were placed into separate categories. Trucks were given more lenient fuel efficiency standards because they were considered work vehicles. As time passed and automakers realized trucks were a goldmine of profits, they exploited this loophole. Bigger trucks meant they could bypass stricter fuel economy standards. And to make sure they sold, manufacturers leaned heavily into marketing, promoting trucks not as tools, but as lifestyle statements. This wasn't a coincidence. It was a calculated move to avoid fuel regulations, make more money, and shift public perception of what a truck should be. And the bigger the truck, the more lenient the regulation. So what did automakers do? They deliberately made trucks bigger. The marketing machine. Let's talk about marketing, the invisible hand guiding all of this. In the 1990s, truck advertising was measured in the hundreds of millions. By the early 2000s, it had crossed over $1 billion a year. The messaging was always the same: strength, toughness, domination. Suddenly, trucks weren't just tools, they were identity statements. Commercials showed trucks climbing mountains, hauling impossible loads, and roaring through storms. They told you that a truck wasn't just a vehicle, it was you. And people bought it, literally and figuratively. This shift turned a once practical segment into a fantasy-driven one. You weren't buying a truck to haul hay. You were buying a lifestyle, a badge of toughness. The irony? Many of these trucks would never tow anything heavier than a boat once a year or carry more than a Costco load in the bed. The cost of bigness. Modern trucks are expensive, not just to buy but to own. Fuel economy is still subpar for their size, insurance is high, and maintenance isn't cheap when your vehicle is packed with complex electronics and oversized parts. In 2010, the average price for a truck was under $40,000. Today, it's creeping past $60,000 and climbing. And then there's the environmental impact. A bigger truck means more raw materials, more energy to produce, more fuel burned, and more emissions. We're told they're more efficient than ever, and they are, technically. But that efficiency gain is dwarfed by the sheer increase in size and weight. The result? Trucks might be more powerful, but they're also more wasteful. Where did the good trucks go? So what happened to the compact, affordable, reliable trucks we used to love? The Toyota Hilux, the Nissan Hardbody, the early Ford Rangers. These weren't flashy vehicles. They weren't loaded with chrome trim, touchscreens, or over-the-top marketing campaigns. They were tools. Tools you could use for work during the week and take off-road on the weekends. Tough, easy to maintain, cheap to own, and capable far beyond their size. Simplicity was their superpower and reliability was their reputation. They weren't built to impress anyone, they were built to get things done. But today's truck market has no space left for those humble workhorses. Over time, a perfect storm formed. Federal safety and emissions regulations increased production costs, consumers started chasing size and luxury over utility, and automakers realized that full-size trucks meant full-size profits. That trifecta pushed small trucks out of the showroom and into the history books. Automakers now favor giant, high-margin trucks because that's where the money is, even if it means compromising utility, affordability, and fuel efficiency. Yet despite the industry's shift, there's still a quiet but growing demand for something smaller, simpler, and more honest. It's not just nostalgia. People are remembering what we lost and realizing how few truly practical options still exist. That's why older compact trucks are climbing in value. It's not just because they're rare, it's because they represent a time when trucks were made for work, not for image. People don't miss the past, they miss the real thing. Bigger isn't better, smarter is. We've allowed size to become a stand-in for quality, when in reality, it's often just a shortcut to profit. We made trucks bigger, but we didn't make them better. We traded utility for vanity, safety for style, and affordability for flash. And the sad truth is, the people who really need good trucks have been priced out or left behind. But maybe there's hope. If enough people demand real utility, smart engineering, and affordable work vehicles, the market might listen. Maybe the next truck revolution isn't about more chrome or more cylinders, but about getting back to what trucks were meant to be, tools. If you're tired of oversized, overpriced trucks and believe it's time for a change, don't forget to subscribe for more content that tells it like it is. Let's demand better, not just bigger.